Gone are the days when small cars were also cheap and nasty, and bigger was always better. Today's crop of super minis needs to aim far higher. The buying down trend is nothing new in a vehicle market influenced by factors such as a softening economy, rising fuel prices, and of course a general lack of disposable income. But then it has to be said that smaller cars have become swifter, smarter and more eco-friendly too. In fact, they're so good these days that one wonders if there's any need to buy a bigger car. But what is it like to actually live with one of these econoboxes? Our new long-term car, the Peugeot 208 1.2 Active, might provide some of those answers. The 208 has been around since November last year, but much of the initial limelight was stolen by the 1.6 models. That's hardly surprising, since many South African motorists would still consider a 1600 engine the bare minimum for any self-respecting hatchback. As a result, the 1.2 Active has often found itself forgotten in the shadow of its more powerful sibling, and as we've already realized after just a short few weeks in its company, that's a pity, because in many ways the smaller engine 208 is a more rewarding package. Since its launch late last year, the Peugeot 208 has become an increasingly popular choice in the subcompact hatchback segment, and in fact Peugeot is selling around 200 units a month at the moment. It's a very striking and attractive car with clean and crisp lines and a lot of interesting and eye-catching details. Our particular long-term car is even more striking, mainly due to the S-Line package. As you can see, it has some zooty checkerboard stripes, some red detailing, and inside a different gear knob. The S-Line execution is an add-on option that is the perfect way to add some visual pep to the 208. However, the effects may also be too brash for some, and the 16,650 rand it adds to the asking price is not exactly cheap. Even without it though, the 208 looks the sleek and contemporary part with crisp lines and attractive detailing. The proportions are nicely balanced and there's a freshness to its overall presence that suits its zippy character. The real showpiece of this car is the engine. It's a 1.2-litre three-cylinder unit with an all-aluminium construction featuring 4 valves per cylinder and variable valve timing. Maximum output 60 kilowatts, which is quite good for a normally aspirated unit, linked to 118 Newton-meters of torque, and the gearbox is a 5-speed manual unit driving the front wheels. A 1.2-litre engine in a subcompact hatchback and a 3-cylinder to boot, one can't help but think that the engine will simply be too puny to cope with the 208's size, regardless of how aerodynamically shaped it is. Indeed, this is by no means a hot hatch, but the 1.2 Active gets off the mark briskly and remains eager to please as you progress through the gears. Throttle response is decent and performance swift as long as you're prepared to exercise the engine with a certain level of enthusiasm. Any concerns we might have had that a small car like the Peugeot 208 would be short on luxury and comfort features were soon dispelled when we actually received the car. This is the 1.2 Active, and as a result it has an interior that is more premium than budget. Glossy piano black finishes alternate with muted aluminium accents. The seats are cloth upholstered but feature swirls and textures that look and feel smart and individual. The small, slightly oval steering wheel is unusual. It's too small to frame the main instrument binnacle directly behind it, and in fact is meant to be adjusted so that the driver sees the dials above the steering wheel's rim. There's no skimping on standard equipment levels in this car. Electric windows and mirrors, remote central locking, aircon and full multimedia capabilities are all included, while the boot is useful for a subcompact car. A highlight is the touchscreen display that provides an intuitive interface for the trip computer and the car's multimedia capabilities, which extend from multi-speaker sound to Bluetooth telephony and USB-based audio sources. But just how nippy and how economical is the 208 1.2 Active in everyday driving? Even in the small car context, the combination of a normally aspirated 1.2-litre engine and high-felt altitudes doesn't augur well from a performance perspective. And yet, the 1.2 Active does feel quite peppy in practice. The car arrived with about 2,400 kilometers on the odometer, so it's still busy loosening up, but already it does feel as if that 12.2 0 to 100 time is quite viable in practice, as does the 175 kilometers an hour top speed. But from our perspective, the stat that's really interesting is the 4.5 litres per 100 kilometers for the combined cycle fuel consumption, and we'll see whether this car is able to match that claim. We already know that real-world economy is not as cut and dried though. Much depends, as always, on the route, the load on board, and in how much of a hurry the driver is. For now, we believe that the car will achieve mid to high 5 litre per 100 kilometre consumption figures at reef altitudes in commuting conditions. We're also looking forward to exploring the 208 1.2's talents over longer distances, and not only in terms of fuel consumption, but also as far as space, comfort and versatility are concerned. The Peugeot 208 is one of a new generation of subcompacts offering sharp looks, smart interiors, advanced tech and nippy performance, all while running on the sniff of an oil rag. We are certainly looking forward to experiencing what modern econobox motoring is like in the company of this car. With just 3 cylinders and 1.2 litres providing the urge, the 208 is surprisingly nippy and usefully frugal too. We also like the contemporary styling and the comprehensively equipped interior, but you need to use all the revs to make the most of the urge on offer.